Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hannah Olson and I live here in Minnesota with my husband and our 3 young children. They are ages 7.5, 5.5, and 2. So life is very busy and full. I stay at home with the kids and we're a homeschooling family as well. So I usually share about all things motherhood, homemaking, and homeschooling. Sometimes it's a peek into how our homeschooling day looks. Sometimes it's more of a kitchen focused video where I'm sharing what I'm baking and cooking. But today's video is a little bit different. I thought it would be fun to share a list of things I don't do as a mom. Now, I feel like I should give a little disclaimer here. I feel like it's mandatory to give a disclaimer that this does not mean that the items on my list today are all bad or that my way is the only right way or the only way you should be doing things. Please don't take it that way. I just think it's really fun to compile lists like this. Also, I want to note that people do change over time. I know you've changed over time, I've changed over time, and hopefully we're all changing for the better every day or little by little during our motherhood journeys. This is just what is true about me right now in this moment. So feel free to check in with me if it's been a little while since I filmed this video, and feel free to ask me if I have changed anything on this list. But for now, let's jump in with this list of things I don't do as a mom. First of all, I do not cook a separate meal for my kids. So that means I don't cook a meal for myself and my husband, or if my husband's gone at work, just for myself, and then something totally different for my 3 kids. They just eat whatever I have made. We celebrate being what I call food tasters in our family, and that's a pretty good compliment for our kids when we tell them they're being a food taster or they did a good job being a food taster today, and that's just how our family works. I do not make them something different. I guess the one time I would make them something different potentially is if we're all going to the zoo or making sack lunches for a picnic and I just want something different like a salad or just items that I find fun in my little lunchbox, then I'll make something different. But on a day-to-day basis, I make our meals and everybody eats the same meals. I think it's really fascinating that even when babies are in the womb, they are starting to develop their palates for what they like in terms of food. And I eat a wide variety of different cuisines and I love different spices and flavors. And I just plain find food exciting. I love cooking from scratch and I love fresh produce. I love baked goods as well. And so I really like introducing lots of different kinds of foods for my kids, and I think they really enjoy it as well. They have a pretty good varied diet and it's worked out well for our family to have this approach. The next thing I don't do as a mom is I don't drink coffee. I know, it sounds crazy to somehow survive motherhood without coffee, right? You've seen it all online that we just need our coffee to get through the day, and I just do not do well with caffeine. It makes me so jittery and so shaky, and it makes me start to feel anxious, and so I just do not drink coffee. I will steal a couple sips. You'll notice there are like caveats in this list today, so hopefully this doesn't feel way too crazy black and white for you. But I do steal a couple sips from my husband's coffee cup, maybe once every couple weeks, if that even counts at all. But I do not drink coffee. I actually love the taste. I love the smell of coffee. I just cannot do the caffeine. And to answer your next question, yes, I have tried decaf coffee. I still feel the caffeine because there is a little element of caffeine in decaf items like decaf tea and decaf coffee. I do tend to lean towards decaf tea, but I don't drink tea all of the time either. So I stay away from caffeine and I don't drink coffee. So I am living proof that you can get through motherhood without coffee if you need to. Also related to that point, I don't drink wine, I don't drink alcoholic beverages, hardly ever, like ever. I will maybe once a year have a couple sips of something. And my husband and I don't have hard and fast rules about being 100% alcohol free in our home, but I just don't find it necessary. I find it expensive, and I love making fun drinks in other ways. So that is something I don't do as a mom. I don't need coffee to survive, and I definitely am a rebel against that mommy wine culture, where at the end of a long day, mama just has to plop down on the couch and and drink wine. I don't feel that that is a necessary coping technique for motherhood, and there are many other ways to relax. So I don't do wine. I also don't feel you need wine or coffee to survive those long, hard days of motherhood. So if you're looking for a little bit of encouragement, I'm right there with you, mama. I'm in the trenches too, and we can also prove to ourselves that we don't need to have the wine and we don't need to have the coffee if you are choosing to make that, if you have a conviction against it, or if you're choosing just to make that decision health-wise for yourself. You don't need to have it, and I just wanted to put that out there. The next thing I don't do as a mom is I don't have devices for my children. My husband and I are not big fans of personal devices for children, and so our kids do not do screens that way. And we are all thriving that way. We do have a television, we do have laptops that the kids can watch a show on. We honestly haven't figured out how to use the television here at the rental house, which has really helped out with not doing too much TV time, but our kids do not have individual devices, and we don't have any plans to get them their own iPad or something like that. The next thing I don't do as a mom is send my kids to school. This one's pretty obvious because if you've followed my channel for any length of time, you know we're a homeschooling family, and I mentioned that at the start of this video. So we do not send our kids to school. That is our personal choice and desire to keep our family together, because my husband's job does move him into different parts of the state, different locations here in Minnesota throughout the year, and in order for us to all live together and stay together as a family, we homeschool. And we have other reasons too. We love the faith-filled aspect of homeschooling our children, schooling our children here at home. And so yeah, I don't send my kids to school. Something else I don't do as a mom is I don't bash my husband or my children. So I do not go and complain about my husband to friends. I do not whine or complain about how difficult my children are. I have a few close friends who I can speak with about personal struggles or difficulties, particularly when it comes to raising our children. And those conversations I can have with my close friends about motherhood are not just stuck in the complaining phase where I'm just noticing everything that is hard or bad or exasperating about being a mom. These are conversations that are solution or goal oriented, and we are always bouncing ideas and advice off of each other, and I love that about close motherhood friendships, and I pray that my channel feels a little bit like that to you, where we're not complaining about the hard times, but we are definitely looking for ways to make life run more smoothly and ways to honor God in the process. And I love that I have those friendships, but I definitely am not a fan of the culture of complaining about our husbands. I don't like assuming that husbands are less smart than wives, than women, and I absolutely respect and love my husband. I think he's brilliant and wonderful, and so I admire my husband, and I have no desire to bash him. Of course, in marriage we have little things that annoy each other, and we could get really nitpicky about it and complain or start complaining to our friends and friend groups about each other, but we choose not to do that because we are on the same team. We're each other's greatest cheerleaders and we are best friends. So anyway, I do not bash my husband. I also don't complain about my children. I sometimes find those memes really funny on Instagram when it's talking about something cute that kids do, or you don't realize something until you become a parent. But I think we have to be careful or tread the line a bit when it comes to finding those things funny. Kids are hilarious. I was an elementary teacher before I became a mom. I love being with kids. I think they're hilarious and ridiculous sometimes, and entertaining and wonderful and brilliant, all wrapped up in one, and exasperating. There are so many things, multifacets about being with other people, including children, but I am not a fan of complaining about how annoying or dumb children are, because they are a gift from God. The next thing I don't do as a mom is we don't use screens for our quiet time. So we have a 2-hour quiet time every day. That's what the kids are doing right now. They're actually in separate bedrooms listening to audiobooks, and then our youngest, Svea, who is 2, is napping, but we don't use screens as our break in the day or as our quiet time in the day. That would be a separate treat or a separate time in the day to put on a show or movie. I would say we are a screen light family. I have a friend who I believe coined the term. We're definitely a screen light family in that we don't rely on screens. We don't even have screens on every day. Screen time is considered a special treat, or it's part of our older two kids' piano lessons, which are online, but we don't use that as a daily expected break. And we did have to get out of that rut a while ago, maybe it was a year ago, and I had to fight pretty hard to make sure I took back control of our family's screen time. And that's not all put on me where I was just controlling everything in a ruthless way. I had to just be really intentional about keeping our kids' childhood wide open, full of play and ideas, and not always relying on screens. And I actually have a whole lesson about this in my online course, the Present Mama Playbook, which is opening up for enrollment quite soon, which is very exciting. And I have a whole lesson all about taking back control of your family's screen time, because I know it can be such a struggle and such a discouragement for us as moms. But yeah, we don't use screens as our way to decompress, because screens are actually pretty stimulating, and our kids right now are using afternoon time to enjoy audiobooks or music on their Yoto players and do crafts and draw and read and relax. So that's the way we like it. Something else I don't do as a mom is sit down. I know that sounds funny, but I hardly ever sit down during the day, and I like it that way because it helps me to not sit on the couch or lay on the couch and just scroll on my phone. I like to keep busy. I like to keep active. I'm not a huge exerciser, but I like to keep an active lifestyle still within my home, and we do go for walks and stuff, but I definitely don't like to sit down. I found it is so much better for me to keep myself moving throughout the day. I do sit down every day during a quiet time, which is a 2-hour stretch of time every afternoon, and that's when I feel like I can put my feet up and get computer work done, like editing videos or writing blog posts and things like that. But I love keeping the momentum every day between household tasks and what I'm doing with the kids. I don't make it a practice to plant myself on the couch. Unless I'm pregnant. If I'm pregnant, I am on the couch. I usually don't feel very well when it's early pregnancy, and I tend to need to nap every afternoon or just lay on the couch. But besides that kind of a season, I like to keep moving and I don't like to sit down. So to sum it up, I sit down just briefly for meals. I sit down during quiet time, during homeschool time, usually, unless I'm getting up and walking between the kids. And I also sit down when I'm reading books to the kids, of course. It's a little harder to do that while walking around. And I otherwise like to keep myself moving and keep going throughout the day. This next one might sound a little bit silly, but I do not have or use a KitchenAid stand mixer. You know, the ones that have the bowl attached to the mixer so that you can walk away and it's still mixing. I actually never wanted one of them, and this could be an item that changes over the years, and you'll have to check back with me and see if I end up getting one. But for now, I have no desire to get one. I love my KitchenAid brand hand mixer. It's a handheld mixer. It just works so well for me. It's how I learned how to cook and bake with, you know, what my mom had when I was growing up, and I love it. It's like a comfort to me, and I haven't really run into many difficulties with using that instead of a stand mixer. So I guess if you are in the market for a stand mixer and you're not totally sure you want one, just know that there are still a handful of us out there who don't have one, and we're still happy with our own kitchen tools and supplies. So we've come to the last item on today's list. Something I don't do as a mom is I don't do home births. And I know that that is such a popular thing and popular option for many women out there, particularly I've noticed in the homeschooling moms crowd. And I just have no desire to do a home birth. I have very fast labors. Sophie was, I don't know if it was like 7 hours, and she was induced and the Pitocin kicked in very, very quickly. And with Soren's birth, our 5-year-old, I barely made it to the hospital on time. With Svea's birth, she was born, I don't know if labor was like an hour and a half. I have it written down somewhere, but I have very fast labors, which is probably mostly a blessing. It's also a little bit nerve-wracking. And so I feel most comfortable actually in a hospital setting with the unexpected and very quick things that have happened with my births and my labors. I just love being surrounded by all of those medical professionals should we need additional help and support. And I know everyone's birth story is their own very personal story, and I'm not condemning any type of birth at all. I'm just very grateful that there are so many different types of loving and caring people to bring babies into this world, whether it be midwives or doulas or doctors, pediatricians, OBGYNs, and all the nurses, of course, who are involved. So many people who truly care about bringing a precious new baby into the world. I just personally don't do home births, and so that is the final item on my list. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope it was fun for you to hear this unique list of things I don't do as a mom. And now I want to hear from you down in the comments. I want to hear what you don't do as a mom. And it's not meant as a way to start a debate or anything like that, but I'm truly genuinely curious. I think it's so cool that God has blessed us with different unique personalities and giftings and even interests as a mom. And so I'm just interested to hear what's on your list of things that you personally don't do as a mom. So let me know down below. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'd be so honored if you choose to stick around and hit that subscribe button. I have hit 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube by now, and I'm so thankful to those of you who have chosen to stay here in my little corner of the internet, and I'm so humbled and honored that you would choose to really stay around and listen to what I have to say and what I have to share. And I pray that my content continues to be an encouragement and a help to you. If you are interested in receiving a new tried and true recipe every time I send out an email newsletter, plus of course what is new on the blog and on YouTube, I love notifying people through emails, and so I have an email list you can sign up for down below. I also have an online homemaking and motherhood course that I mentioned briefly earlier in this video. It's called the Present Mama Playbook, and it's all about combining good mental resiliency strategies and a fresh perspective on motherhood with those practical, down-to-earth and smooth systems that we can implement in our households. And combined all together, that helps us to be a more present and peaceful mom for our children, for our husband, and for ourselves. And so if you're interested at all in the Present Mama Playbook, you can join the waitlist down below in the description box. I will have that linked for you because it is opening up for enrollment very soon again for the summer session, and I am so excited. I can't wait. Thanks again for watching and for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you're at, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.